Hey guys, it's Mr. Drood. I am coming at you with another uh, awesome video of today's lecture. All right, so today we covered section 2, forms of government. Uh, this is going to be a two-part video on just the outline. Even though this is a small section, there is also a visual I will be showing with you. Then there's going to be another video on I think Wednesday. We're still trying to figure out the schedule there, where we're going to come out with the additional notes. So I'm only covering the outline with you guys today. So I just wanted to make sure you guys know that. So this will be a two-part video for just the outline. So if you were absent, I want you guys to know that. And if you guys are, or if you guys were just needing additional help. All right, so we ended off last time with our outline with the section 1 government and the state. So we ended with the preamble, and we had a preamble activity. It was for our bell ringer. It is in Schoology. It is in this week's folder. We have it was just a video of the Schoolhouse Rock, and you just answered that puzzle piece. So just make sure you guys answer that puzzle piece and watch the video. You don't have to necessarily watch the video to do the puzzle piece, but it might help you. It's just that cool little song from Schoolhouse Rock. All right. So there are three major parts of government, forms of government in section 2 that we're going to cover. We're going to cover who can participate in the government, how is the power distributed, the distribution of power, and I put this here, relationship between the executive and the legislative branches. So on the first part A, we start off with democracies. We have an indirect democracy or representative democracy, and a direct democracy or a pure democracy. In a representative democracy, as it says right here, a small group of people is elected to represent the group. So that simply means that the people vote for a small group of people. The group could be a few hundred or just a few dozen. It depends on the government, but they vote for people, and those people represent them. They make sure laws get passed. Those representatives make sure that money is given to the people. Things happen. They are the ones that make sure everything runs smoothly. And so people vote for people, but the representatives do a lot of the work for the larger group. So the small group does a lot more work for the bigger group. Now, in a pure or a direct democracy, the people themselves, like me, you, Miss Lucas, we vote on everything. We create the laws and the policies. That means we would vote on everything. Imagine if we had a stop sign that we needed to put in. We would have to vote on that. Everybody would have to vote on that in our area. Or what if there's another COVID stimulus package? You would need to do that again. So think about this is the fact that in a pure democracy, we would be having to go essentially vote. Imagine like a presidential election every week or every day, and you'd have to go and vote every day. So we don't, in the United States, we don't have a pure or direct democracy. We have a representative or an indirect democracy. We vote for leaders, and those leaders, we entrust them to make the decisions for us. They make our laws. They make sure stuff happens. And if we don't like them, we can vote them out. So those are the two different types of democracy. And I know people were getting this mixed up when I was grading your guys' outlines, which it happens, but I want to make sure you guys get the right answers. In the next part of here, we have dictatorships. There's two different types of dictatorships. An autocracy, it's not autocracy, it's autocracy, and an oligarchy. These are types of dictatorships. They are not concerned with the will of the people. They can give two flying flips of what the people think. They are in charge of everything. And I will cover more in our second half of the video. What is the difference between an autocracy and an oligarchy? There is a major difference between the two, which I will go into in the next video. So that is who can participate. So who can participate in the government? And these are the main ones. Now, the next part is how is power distributed amongst these different types of governments? And we say geographical, meaning where is it going to be placed? So, where is it going to be placed? We have three main forms of government: unitary, federal, and confederate. So, in a unitary government, power is distributed where the central government, think of it where it's just all the main one. There's the main government or central government, and they hold all the power. They hold everything. So the smaller governments or local governments, which I am going to just highlight right here, you guys can see my highlighted right there. Local governments, think of local governments in the United States, and this isn't everywhere, but think of them as the individual states. Think of them like as Michigan, Ohio, Wisconsin, Texas. So think when you hear local governments, just think of states, our individual states, if that helps you more. So when I say local governments, that's what I mean. But in a unitary government, the main or central government, not it could be the main government, they hold all the power, and the local governments would hold very little to no power. In a, I'm going to skip federal real quick, and I'm just going to go to Confederate, and I'm going to explain why in a minute why I did that. In a Confederate government, the power rests with the local governments. That means the central, what I'm highlighting here, government, they have little power. The local governments under a confederacy have all the power. So the local governments control everything. And that's awesome in this regard for them, for the local governments, but it's bad for the central government. And there is some issues that can arise with a confederate system and a unitary system. There's problems with all of these, but there's problems with them. We'll discuss that later. So if a unitary government has all the power in the hands of the central group, and a confederate government has the power with the local governments, think of a federal government as an in between. They share their power, and the central and the local governments are more equal. Not necessarily fully equal, but they are more equal than they were. So sometimes, usually, the central government has a little more power, but the states or local governments still hold some power, and they can make sure things get done. So that that is the main difference between the unitary, federal, and confederate. So it's a good thing to know the difference between them. So that is how the power is distributed. And again, I will have another video explaining this stuff a lot more. So do not be worried if you're like, I'm still a little confused, Mr. Drude. I'm hoping my next video will be more detailed in what I'm trying to say. The final part of this section is the executive and legislative branch, but I added two words here: a relationship between. Remember, the executive branch is where they carry out the laws. They make sure the laws are being followed and that they get carried out. And the legislative branch, if you see here, the legislative branch, they make the laws. So in this section, we're saying how the people that make the laws and the people that carry out the laws, how they relate to each other. What is the relationship between them? And every government has a relationship between them. And the two governments we're going to talk about are very popular. The first system is the presidential government. This is when the executive and the legislative branch are separated. They are not together. They are separated, but they are equal. That means although they are separated, neither one is more powerful than the other. They are equals. So the executive isn't more powerful than the legislative, and the legislative is not more powerful than the executive. They are equal in their power, and this keeps a balance. So that is what a presidential system is. So the executive and the legislative branches are separate, but they are equal. In a parliamentary government, many of you guys have heard parliament on the news, maybe in a book, maybe in a game, and people say, "Oh, parliament or parliamentary." Well, parliament, think of countries like Great Britain, Australia, Canada, Israel. They all have parliamentary governments. And this is when the executive branch and the legislative branch are together. The people that are in the executive branch are also part of the legislative branch. So they are not separate. They are together and they stay together. So they are not separate uh two separate branches like it is in a presidential. And that's the main difference. So in the presidential, they're separated but they're equal, and in a parliamentary, they are not separated, they are together. And the executive branch is part of the legislative branch. So that is it for section 2, forms of government, for our outline. So if you guys filled out your outline, awesome. Now, my next video is going to show you guys a visual, so you guys will see what I was talking about, and it'll help you more. So that's it for this video. Thank you for watching, and if you need anything, please let us know. Thank you, and have a wonderful day.